Hi everyone, and in today's video for PSO Blueburst, I'm going to show you some of the different item combinations you can make for ranger weapons. Hi guys, and welcome back to another video for PSO Blueburst. In today's video, I'm going to continue the series that I started with the last video, which is to look at all the different item combinations in PSO Blueburst. Now, the last video, if you haven't seen it already, that covered all of the different hunter weapons that you can make by combining items, and in this one, we're going to cover all the ranger weapons. There will be another video after this for force weapons, and then another one for armors as well. So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at all the different ranger weapons that you can make by combining items. So in PSO, there is a system where you can create new gear by combining different bits of gear. There's a couple of ways it happens. So sometimes you will combine a weapon with, or an armor, with a miscellaneous item that's used to transform it. Sometimes what you'll do is you'll actually combine two weapons together. So I'll go through all the different ones that affect Ranger, and then we'll cover the other ones in a later video as well. So the first one we'll look at, the item you need for this is just any basic handgun. So we've got a ray gun here. Now the only stipulation is that you have to have the ray gun or whatever handgun you use. You can use even a basic handgun if you want to. The only stipulation is it has to be at the maximum grind level. And you need to have, I believe it's about at least 140 ATA. So once you've got your ray gun, ideally get one with hit because the attributes will carry over to the finished weapon. Then what you want to do is you want to use an item called this one here, so a part of Egg Blaster. So it says a part for remodeling a gun, developed by an unnamed researcher with designs on world domination. If you highlight that in your inventory, you can see we have a use option. And just to show you this again, if we equip a different weapon here and try using the Egg Blaster again, you can't use it. So you can see that it's connected to the ray gun. So again, if we equip that ray gun and then use parts of Egg Blaster on it, we get a little chime which indicates that there's been a combination. And we now have a weapon, surprisingly, called Egg Blaster. So Egg Blaster says, a special gun made by a mysterious scientist out to conquer the world. Does fire damage. So no prizes for guessing what game this is representing. Now, Egg Blaster is not a very good weapon. It's interestingly, it changes actually from a handgun to a rifle. Now, the disadvantage is it does have decreased range over rifle. It's still, I believe it's still got longer range than a handgun. Possibly, it might even be the same range as a handgun, but it does have decreased range overall, and it doesn't have a particularly good special. And just in case you haven't figured out what game we're representing here, you might be able to see on the end of the gun there is a picture of Dr. Robotnik. So, with the Egg Blaster, you can see, considering we're a level 200 Raker Seal, it's not particularly strong. And the special attack on this is just a fire attack, so it's not very good. It's more just a little comedy weapon, really. To be honest, you're not really going to use this seriously. So that's the Egg Blaster. So for the next one, we'll cover one that actually is useful. So there are a few weapons in the game that that change when they're exposed to a thing called a photon booster. And the first one of these is the Frozen Shooter. The Frozen Shooter, if you play Ranger, you should be very, very familiar with this weapon. It's basically a staple Ranger weapon that when you use it, fires a freeze beam that instantly freezes. Now, if you equip a Frozen Shooter, and use a photon booster on it, it will actually turn into a Snow Queen. Now, the reason it's not shown up here is because your Frozen Shooter does need to be at max grind. So, once you've grinded your Frozen Shooter, so you can see here, we've got a Frozen Shooter +9. If you then go to your inventory and you want to use an item called a Photon Booster. Now, the Photon Booster you get from Paganini's Photon Drop Shop. You just trade Photon Drops for it. I believe it's around 40 Photon Drops around there, 40 to 50. So, once you've got the Frozen Shooter equipped, you just use the Photon Booster. And that will turn your Frozen Shooter into a Snow Queen. Now, Snow Queen, I've shown this off in some of the Ranger Class Guide videos, but it's a very similar to weapon to Frozen Shooter, but it's kind of a side grade. So, Advantages of Snow Queen over Frozen Shooter is it can actually freeze groups of enemies. So you can see there we've managed to freeze a little group of enemies. It is quite hard to trigger. Enemies do need to be very, very close together. But that's the main advantage of Snow Queen over the Frozen Shooter. So the Frozen Shooter also has the advantage of that it can combo where the Snow Queen can't. So there's a definite upsides and downsides to both. Typically with the range, you're probably going to want to end up having both of them. I would, however, only recommend using a photon booster on a Frozen Shooter if you have a Frozen Shooter with a decent amount of hit. The main reason for that is because as you've only got one shot to be able to freeze because you can't combo, you need as much accuracy as you can to be able to land that hit. So ideally you want to be using a Frozen Shooter with hit to make a Snow Queen. So that's the Frozen Shooter and Snow Queen. I did mention though that there are a couple of weapons that use photon boosters. So the next weapon that uses a photon booster is a weapon called the Mesabeam. Now Mesabeam is a very weird weapon and honestly not great. So Mesabeam is a shot, but instead of firing bullets, it fires essentially Gizunder. And you can see how terrible this is. Now, I believe, I may be wrong on this, but I believe the reason for this might be because I think it is based on your MST. Because you are firing essentially a tech. And as I'm using a Rick Seal, I have no MST. So maybe a Raymal or a Raymal might do more damage with this. It's honestly not a weapon I'm very familiar with because it's never one I've really wanted to hunt. However, if you get one of these, and again, grind it to its maximum, which in this case is plus 20, use a photon booster on it, and it will turn into a weapon called Power Mazer. So it just gets a new colour. You can see now that the shot is much more effective. I'm still doing terrible damage with it, but again, I think that's because I'm an android. But you can see that compared to how little the Mesabeam was hitting, this is actually hitting quite a few enemies. Generally, I don't really feel this is worth using a photon booster on. It's more of a novelty weapon than anything else. But that's the Power Mazer. Next up, we've still got more. So there's also a weapon called the Flame Visit. Flame Visit, again, is a very sort of niche weapon. It's not particularly useful, but it is cool. You'll probably recognize it as a weapon that well, Bernie uses a version of this. So this is the Flame Visit, and it's basically like a little flamethrower. Essentially the way it works, it's carried like a shot, but it fires a little fireball. The damage is okay, but it's nothing special. It has a Confuse special, so not particularly useful. Again, if you grind this to the maximum, which for the Flame Visit is plus 9, and use another photon booster on it, it will turn into a weapon called Burning Visit. So it'll turn into a weapon called Burning Visit. Now, Burning Visit, it's an interesting one, so it is quite a bit stronger than Flame Visit. It has more or less the same special. I believe the Confusion might be a tier up from Flame Visit, but don't quote me on that. However, it can't combo anymore. However, what you can notice is it does actually pierce enemies now. So there is some limited use for this. Again, I don't feel this is a weapon that you use very often. It is more just for like a niche cool weapon, I guess. But if you've got a Flame Visit and you want to make it into a cool piercing flamethrower, then you can make it into the Burning Visit. That's another option. Next one is a weapon called Panza Faust. So Panza Faust, again, is treated as a shot. It's actually more like a bazooka though. So if I shoot this, you can see the standard one just fires like a missile. So it fires a little bit like the Inferno Bazooka. Now, this weapon is only usable by androids. And again, if you max grind this, which for the Panzer Faust is, I believe it's plus 9. Yep, plus 9. Again, use another photon booster. And it will turn it into a weapon called Iron Faust. Again, just gets a little visual makeover. We'd say Iron Faust now has a bit more splash damage. again, it's not a bad weapon by any means, but I don't feel like it's one you're going to use very often. Even on an Android Ranger, there are much better options generally. A lot of these photon booster combinations, apart from the Frozen Shooter to Snow Queen, are kind of novelty weapons that are very niche situations you'll use them in. Or some of them you might not use at all. So next what we'll look at is there are a few different mech guns that you can create in the game by combining 2 different handguns. Now, some of these are a little bit awkward to create for reasons I'll go into in a minute. So the first one we'll look into is a weapon called Gold Miller. Now, Gold Miller, the way that combinations normally work for 2 weapons is you equip one of the weapons and then you use the other one from your inventory. With Gold Miller, it is a little bit awkward, and the reason for that is because the weapons that Gold Miller uses are Handgun Miller, which you need to have grinded to +9, and Handgun Gold, which you need to have grinded to +9 as well. However, you can see here that even though I'm a Ranger, I can't use Handgun Gold, and the reason for that is because Handgun Gold is male Ranger only, and Handgun Miller is female Ranger only. So if you are on a male Ranger, Handgun Miller would be grayed out. That means I can only equip Handgun Miller. So that means that I need the good percents on Handgun Miller. I was making it with a female Ranger. Now yes, I could give them to a male Ranger, but that does involve a lot of trust, unless you've got a male Ranger yourself. So just bear that in mind that with this weapon, because they are gender locked, you are limited to the one that you can actually equip. So for this character, because we're female, we can equip Handgun Miller. Handgun Miller, very, very rare handgun. Extremely hard to get. I believe you might be able to get this through Black Paper's deal as well now, but the actual drops for it are really, really hard. Handgun Gold essentially looks the same as this, it just, the extending bit on the side is on the opposite side, and it's male only. So once you've got one of the handguns equipped, obviously if you're female, you're going to equip Handgun Miller, if you're male, you're going to equip Handgun Gold, and then to use, if you're female, you're going to use Handgun Gold, and if you're male, you're going to use Handgun Miller. So for us, because we're female, we equip Handgun Miller, and you can see that when I go to Handgun Gold now and go on it, I have a use option. And when I press use, they combine together and create Gold Miller. Now, Gold Miller is a really, really strong mech gun. Also looks really, really cool. Just for what it's worth as well, Handgun Gold is also an incredibly hard drop, so this is a very, very hard weapon to make. See, very, very strong mech gun. And it has unreduced HP steal as well. So for an Android, it's actually not too bad because you've got the accuracy to use it, and it's a really easy way of getting health back. But you see, very, very strong mech gun. So that's Gold Miller. So there are a few other mech guns like this as well. So the next one that we'll look at is a weapon called Jewelbird. Now this is a blue burst only item. So for Jewelbird, again, it's a combination of 2 different handguns. And the handguns that you want for this are Last Swan and Master Raven. And again, we have exactly the same issue as Gold Miller. So again, Last Swan is female only and Master Raven is male only. Now, curiously for this one, you don't need to grind Master Raven. I don't know if you need to grind Last Swan. I honestly don't know for that, but I am getting the use option with this as soon as I equip Last Swan. So I don't know if you need to grind Last Swan or not for this. So Last Swan is a handgun. It's actually a really interesting handgun, this. So it's a handgun. Every time you shoot with it, it shoots a burst of bullets. It's essentially like a one-handed mech gun. It's quite notable for being usable on Hook Seal as well. I think all hunters can use it actually, but you do need a lot of ATA for it, and you have to be female to use it as well. Whereas I believe that Master Raven has more damage but can't combo, but still shoots a burst fire. Again, once you've got either Master Raven or Last One equipped, depending on which gender you are, you use the other one. So for us, because we're female, we equip Last Swan, and then we use Master Raven. And again, this will create another mech gun called Jewelbird. I've always found this combination very weird. The same with Gold Miller as well to an extent, because So you can't use Handgun Gold if you're female, and you can't use Master Raven if you're female. But by combining them together, now you're able to hold it. It makes no sense whatsoever, but it's PSO logic. This is Jewelbird, so you can see we've got Last One in one hand and Master Raven in the other. And again, this is just a very, very strong mech gun. Now, I do want to point out something with this. I'm playing on the sandbox server here, so you can see that my Jewelbird has 50% hit. You won't be able to get that in regular gameplay. In regular gameplay, these guns only drop from, I believe it's from Black Paper's Deal 2. And in that, all weapons come with 0%, so you cannot get a Jewelbird with hit. Just be aware of that. This is only because I'm on the sandbox version, and it's just what I've created. So typically, you'll only be able to make it like an all zeros attribute Jewelbird. You will be able to obviously add spheres to that. We can see, again, very, very strong mech gun. And the special attack on this is Experience Steal. It's not bad. It's not my favourite mech gun though, really. But next up, we have one more mech gun combination. And this one is also extremely hard to get, so all of these are quite awkward. So for Gold Miller, both of the handguns are very, very hard to get, although I believe you can get at least one of them for Black Paper's Deal. Or Jewelbird, they're easy to get because you can get them, you only get them both for Black Paper's Deal too. But the downside is that you can't have one with hit. The next one, you could technically get one with hit, but it will be a hell of a hunt to get it. So for the next one, we're making a weapon called Meteor. To make Meteor, you need to combine an Ophaly Seas +9 and a Heaven Punisher. Now, if you've looked at the PSO drop chart, you'll know that Heaven Punisher is one of the rarest items in the entire game. It is insanely hard to get a Heaven Punisher, next to impossible. So if you can get this, you'll have one of the rarest weapons in the game, no doubt. But again, with this, all you do is you equip the one that you want to carry the attributes over for, and then use the other one. So what we'll do is I'll show you the weapons individually first. So Ophaly Seas is a little handgun, drops in episode 4. You can get it through, I believe you can get it through Black Paper's Deal as well, but it would have no percents. This is probably the gun you're going to want to hunt with hit percentage. It tends to drop from rare enemies usually. So it's not going to be an easy hunt to get on with hit, but it is worth going for, because the alternative is looking for a Heaven Punisher with hit. So Ophaly Seas, very simple handgun. Just has a confused special. There's nothing really great about it. Then Heaven Punisher. I just find it funny how tiny Heaven Punisher is, considering it's one of the strongest handguns in the game. Heaven Punisher has a unique special, so unfortunately I won't be able to use the special on it at the moment just because of how the beat time is. So the beat time for Heaven Punisher, you can see at the moment it's just doing like a hard attack. Heaven Punisher has a special attack that does Divine Punishment, but it only does it during even beats. I think the 100th digit of the internet time has to be even, and at the moment it's not, it's just gone odd. So I can't show you Divine Punishment at the minute. And just fast forward a bit, just so we can now access the Divine Punishment on the Meteor. This will be more or less the same for the Heaven Punisher and the Heaven Striker as well. The only difference will be that the animation is slightly different. Meteor is actually probably the worst weapon to use it with because the delay between the actual Divine Punishments is a little bit longer. But essentially for Divine Punishment specials, you need to wait until the first digit of the internet time is even. So anything with 0, 2, 4, 6 or 8 at the start. So for example, if it was internet time 832, that will work, but something like 731 won't. It has to be even for the first digit of that time. When it is even, the special changes from a hard attack to Divine Punishment, which is this. You can see on Meteor there is quite a long delay on it, so honestly I don't feel like it's that good on Meteor. With Heaven Punisher it is quite a bit better. So just to show the difference, I've just made another Heaven Punisher here. So you can see that with Heaven Punisher, you can see that the beams do hit quite a bit faster. Now, Divine Punishment can be really, really useful. The damage is boosted a little bit by your mental strength, so the human rangers will do more with this, but it is actually quite useful for locking down enemies because it will flinch them quite a lot. So I just wanted to show what the Divine Punishment does. So this affects the Heaven Punisher whenever the beat time starts with an even number. It affects Meteor whenever the beat time starts with an even number. It also works on the Heaven Striker. For Heaven Striker, though, you also need to have the Striker unit mag to get the Divine Punishment. Otherwise, you'll just get the Berserk special like usual. And again, that works on the even beat time as well. So I just wanted to quickly just showcase what the Divine Punishment does. Now, if you equip one of them and use the other, this video doesn't matter because I've created all these anyway. So we've got the Heaven Punisher equipped, and then we can use the Ophaly Seas. And it makes a weapon called MILM. Now, oddly, with MILM, when you look at it, it is just 2 Ophaly Caesars. I think they messed up with the model for it. Really, it should be a Heaven Punisher in one hand and an Ophaly Caesar in the other. But for some reason, it just shows 2 Ophaly Caesars. Which is very odd. Now, MILM, again, mech gun. Again, very strong. Now, realistically, whether it's one of the best ones in the game, I'm not sure. Honestly, you are going to get more damage out of things like Charge Vulcans, as odd as that sounds, but this is definitely a showpiece weapon, and Divine Punishment is still really, really useful for staggering enemies consistently. I do feel like the Heaven Striker is better at it, though. So that's another option for mech guns. So the last one I'm going to show in this video is there is a combination that uses the rare drop from Olgaflow, which is Parasitic Gene Flow, well, one of his rare drops. So in the last video for Hunter, we showed that using a regular sword and using Parasitic Gene Flow on it changes it into the Dark Flow, which is Olgaflow's sword. Now, Olgaflow also has a gun in his first phase, so you can probably guess what we're making here. So for this one, you want to use a fully ground shot. Again, it can be any type of basic shot. So I've got an arms here, which is the best one. And you really want to be using one with hit. So the best percentages you can make. Once you've got one, grind it as high as it'll go, which in this case is +10. And then you want to use the item Parasitic Gene Flow. And this will turn your shot into a Dark Meteor. The Dark Meteor is Olgaflow's shot. So this is what it uses on you in the first phase of the fight. The Dark Meteor is a really interesting weapon. So it's normal attack. It fires like a shot, really. It can't combo, however. It does have a really cool effect on its shots. I do kind of wish that the shot was green, because the shots that Olgaflow fires at you when you fight him are green. So I don't know why they changed that, but that's the regular shot. Again, for the heavy attack, it's the same. We just can't combo with it. And the special attack for Dark Meteor is really interesting, so it actually changes how the weapon fires. So I'll be able to show you that here. So we've got these guys here. So again, the normal shot just fires like a typical shot. But if we just let them reset, if I then use the special attack, it actually fires a beam that pierces. So I guess this is meant to be like the attack that Olgaflow uses when it makes the circular saw on the lift that then rotates. It does look like that. So it's a really cool special attack that it totally changes how the weapon works. Now, personally, I honestly don't find Dark Meteor that useful overall. It is more just for the cool factor, really. I do feel like Dark Flow is by far the best of the 3 options. Because yes, there are 3. There is a third one I'll cover in the Force video. Just, for me, not having the ability to combo kind of ruins it a little bit. And although the special attack is cool, it does actually have really long range as well. It just doesn't feel overly useful, honestly. It also does have auto aim on the special attack as well, so sometimes you will shoot things you don't want to. So that's the Dark Meteor. So I think that covers all of the different ranger weapons that you can make through combinations. Some of them are very, very interesting. I mean, for me, the ones that I would probably focus on. Egg Blaster, for me, generally is not worth using. Snow Queen is a very, very good weapon if you can get a frozen shoot with a good amount of hit, just to use as like a backup for when enemies are clustered together. Typically, in most situations, a frozen shooter is going to be more useful though. Power Mazer, it may have some use potentially on Raymart or Raymal, but honestly, I don't really feel like it's that worth using. Burning Visit again is a very situational weapon that, although it's nice that it can pierce, it is more just for the cool factor again. The fact of using a flamethrower. It's not particularly useful weapon, honestly. Iron Faust actually does really decent damage. Actually has really high attack power as well. I do feel like it is outclassed though, because in Blue Burst we have weapons like, I don't know if I've got it with me now, but there is weapons like Cannon Rouge, which are just ridiculously strong and hit a much bigger area as well. So I do feel like Iron Faust is just outclassed generally. I think any of the mech guns are worth making. Goldmiller obviously is extremely hard to make, as is MILM. So Jewelbird is definitely the easiest of the three to make, but is probably, I'm not sure if it's the worst, but it's let down by the fact that you can't have hit percentage on it. And Dark Meteor, ultimately, I just don't feel is that worth using, particularly considering how rare Parasitic Gene Flow is. I think if you get that, you probably want to be using it to make a Dark Flow instead. So those are the different Ranger combinations. So I hope you found that relatively interesting. I will do another video covering the different Force combinations, and there will be another one covering all the different arm ones as well, because there is quite a lot. So hope you found that useful. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking, subscribing, or joining as a member. I do 2 videos a week. One is normally for PSO to NGS, where I'm an official NGS creator. And I do 1 video on the weekend, which is normally either PSO, PSU, or one of the older Phantasy Stars. I also stream once a week as well on Sundays, which is usually a mixture of different Phantasy Star games, although we may mix the other game in now and again. You can also follow me on X at Section Skylight to keep up to date with what's going on the channel. And feel free to follow me on there as well. I also do have a Discord as well, so I'll leave a link to the Discord in the description if you want to join us on there as well. But yeah, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one.